What happens when a brilliant scholar who's never touched a woman falls head over heels for his 57-year-old housekeeper because she treats books nicely? Well, buckle up, because today we're diving into one of the most bizarre and brilliant novels of the 20th century, a book that'll make you question everything you think you know about obsession, knowledge, and the thin line between genius and madness.
I'm your daddy.
Welcome back. Today I'm reviewing Auto da Fe by Elias Canetti, a book that's like taking an underground railway from one country's madness to another's. If you've read Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment and thought, you know what this needs? More books, and even more psychological unraveling, then friend, have I got the perfect novel for you. Let me introduce you to Professor Peter Kien, arguably literature's most socially inept genius. This man is a sinologist, the absolute best of his time. He speaks several Eastern languages, has a memory that would make elephants jealous, and owns a 4-room apartment that's basically just one giant library. And when I say he's dedicated to his books, I mean this guy has spent a fortune on them. His entire life is routine. Write in the morning, take a walk with his briefcase, because God forbid he's separated from his precious texts for even a moment, then return home to commune with his literary companions. Now, Professor Kien has lived this blissfully antisocial existence for 40 years. 40. This man is a 40-year-old virgin who treats human interaction like most people treat root canals, something to be avoided at all costs. The only other human in his life is his housekeeper, Therese. But here's where our story takes its first delightfully absurd turn. One day, Therese, who's about 16 years older than Kien, making her around 57, does something that shakes our professor to his very core. She asks to borrow a book. Now, you have to understand, Kien doesn't just dislike sharing his books with regular people. He considers it borderline sacrilege. This is a man who thinks most of humanity is intellectually inferior to his breakfast cereal. But it wasn't just that Therese asked for a book, it was how she treated it. Picture this. Therese receives the book in a clean wrapper like it's a newborn baby. She goes out and buys brand new gloves specifically for handling this book. When Kien spies on her, because of course he does, he finds the book resting on a sewn pillow. A pillow for the book. And here's the kicker. When he asks why she hasn't read much, Therese explains that she reads each page dozens of times to fully absorb it before moving on. Our professor, who considers himself the ultimate book lover, realizes he doesn't even treat his own precious volumes with this level of reverence. So what does our socially stunted scholar do? Well, he marries her. A man who's been single for 4 decades suddenly decides, yes, this woman who treats books like holy relics is clearly my soulmate. But here's the thing, they're marrying for completely different reasons. Kien thinks he's found his intellectual equal, someone who shares his devotion to knowledge. Therese? She's thinking, jackpot. This weird, tall, spineless man has money, property, and all these valuable books. And this, my friends, is where our story transforms from quirky romantic comedy to psychological horror show. Therese starts her campaign of conquest slowly. First, she claims 1 room, then 2, then 3. Eventually, she's got Professor Kien sharing the last remaining room with her. But she doesn't stop there. Oh no. This woman goes full conquistador and eventually throws Kien out of his own apartment.
Say what?
Now remember, this is a man whose entire identity is tied to his books. Separating Kien from his library is like separating a fish from water, except the fish also has severe social anxiety and the reasoning skills of a particularly naive child when it comes to human nature. Once he's on the streets, Kien's grip on reality starts to slip faster than his marriage prospects. He begins twisting reality to make it bearable. He convinces himself that he's actually locked Therese in the apartment as part of some brilliant strategy, and that leaving home was his idea all along. Then he meets this dwarf character, and I mean that literally, the guy's a dwarf, who cons Kien out of his life savings by exploiting his one weakness, the promise of saving books. This dwarf, who goes by Fisher, plants a dangerous idea in Kien's head, that his wife is dead.
What? Yes!
Now let me paint you a picture of how far gone our professor is at this point. Here's a man who can read ancient Chinese texts but can't figure out that people might lie to him for money. It's like watching a chess grandmaster get scammed by a 3-card Monte dealer.
Inconceivable.
The contrast between Kien and Therese becomes painfully clear. She's got a limited vocabulary but never stops talking. He's got unrivaled language skills but barely speaks. His love is for intangible knowledge. Hers is for cold, hard cash and property. She's so obsessed with material wealth that she considers Kien a thief for not giving her his bank savings and for not willing her his property. I mean, the audacity.
The audacity!
And here's perhaps the most absurd part. Kien, our 40-year-old virgin, has no idea how to consummate his marriage, or even if he should. He's wondering if he should call his brother, who's a gynecologist turned psychologist, or maybe just buy a book about sex. Because, of course, this man thinks you can learn about human intimacy the same way you'd learn about ancient Chinese poetry. From a textbook. But here's where Canetti gets really clever. In his desperation, Kien starts treating his books like allies in a war against Therese. He literally addresses them, saying,
"The enemy believes we shall not dare to render void conquests in territory already occupied. Trusting in our ignorance of these new conditions, the enemy seeks to initiate a policy of abduction, unnoticed by us, and without an open declaration of war."
This isn't just the rambling of a madman. It's actually a brilliant allegory for Nazi Germany's occupation of foreign territories. Therese's gradual takeover of Kien's apartment, well, it mirrors how fascist regimes slowly claim territory and rights. Kien continues his battle cry to his books.
"Who among you would be reft from your native land, scattered through all the world, treated as slaves, to be priced, examined, bought, but never spoken to? Slaves who are but half listened to when they speak in the performance of their duties, but in whose souls no man cares to read."
He even references Psalm 137, warning,
"We have no time now for songs of lamentation, or we shall be singing them next by the waters of Babylon."
Canetti is making a profound point here about how the world remained blind to the early signs of what would become the Holocaust. Through Kien's voice, he argues that even small actions can prevent bigger problems, and that no one should consider themselves too small or weak to make an impact. This is Auto da Fe by Elias Canetti, published in 1935, the same year Hitler passed the Nuremberg Laws. The timing isn't coincidental. This novel is simultaneously a dark comedy about human folly and a prescient warning about the dangers of isolation, intellectual arrogance, and the ease with which civilized society can collapse into chaos. What makes this book absolutely brilliant is how Canetti uses humor and absurdity to explore profound themes. Yes, we laugh at Kien's social ineptitude, but we also see how his isolation and refusal to engage with the real world make him vulnerable to exploitation and manipulation. In many ways, Kien is responsible for his own victimization. He believes everyone, misinterprets everything, and allows others to direct his life because he's never learned to navigate human relationships. Canetti also explores what he calls the mass soul, the idea that each individual carries within them the essence of humanity as a collective. He writes,
"We wage the so-called war of existence for the destruction of the mass soul in ourselves, no less than for hunger and love."
This connects to concepts like Ubuntu, I am because we are, and suggests that our current obsession with individualism goes against our fundamental nature as social beings. The author, Elias Canetti, won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1981, and his love for the German language shines throughout this novel. He constantly references proper word usage and linguistic precision, which adds another layer to the story's exploration of communication and miscommunication. Auto da Fe is not an easy read, but it's an incredibly rewarding one. It's a book that will make you laugh, think, and possibly question your own relationship with knowledge and isolation. If you enjoyed the psychological complexity of Dostoevsky, but want something with more dark humor and social commentary, this novel is absolutely perfect for you. The book is available in the Penguin Modern Classics edition, highly recommended for anyone who loves literature that challenges as much as it entertains. Have you read Auto da Fe? What did you think of Professor Kien's journey from scholarly isolation to complete madness? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into literature's hidden gems. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you're interested in diving deeper into this book, I've left some links down in the description. You can use it to grab yourself a copy and keep the adventure going. And if you're in the mood for more great reads, don't go just yet. Click on one of the videos popping up right now that I think you'll love. And don't forget to give this review a like, leave a comment, or even subscribe if you'd like to see more. Every bit of support helps us grow this little community of book lovers. See you in the next one.